If you enjoy jaw-dropping real lifestyle revenge stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because this one is going to make you laugh, gasp, and maybe even cheer out loud. Today's story is about how one arrogant HOA Karen thought she could control my life by sending fake HOA Security to my off-grid cabin, but little did she know my Army veteran cousins were on their way for the weekend riding Harleys, and when they showed up the so-called tough guys fled like scared kids. So let's dive right in because this is one of the wildest encounters I've ever had in my life and it still makes me smile every time I think about it. Now, first things first, you have to understand that I bought my cabin fair and square. It's in the woods outside of town, nowhere near the HOA neighborhood where Karen lives, but because the road that leads to my property passes by the edge of the HOA development, she decided in her twisted little mind that I was under her jurisdiction. And if you've ever dealt with one of these people, you know that once they convince themselves of something, they will stop at nothing to enforce their imaginary rules, and that's exactly what happened here. It started small, with her confronting me one afternoon when I was hauling supplies in my truck. She waved me down like she was a police officer and demanded to know why I was parking illegally. I told her politely that I was not parked illegally. I was unloading at my own property, but she smirked and said, "This whole area is governed by the HOA. And you need to follow the guidelines." I laughed because it was absurd. My cabin is literally outside their map, not even part of their bylaws, but Karen was dead serious and muttered something about bringing this up to the board before storming off. I thought that would be the end of it, but oh no, this was just the beginning of her campaign of harassment. A week later I got a letter shoved under my cabin door that looked like an official violation notice, complete with fake HOA letterhead, saying I owed $250 for unauthorized property modifications, which made me burst out laughing because 1. My cabin is older than the HOA itself, and 2. They had no authority over me whatsoever, so I tossed it in the fire pit and thought nothing more of it. But Karen doesn't take being ignored well, and soon she escalated. One Saturday morning, while I was fixing the porch, I heard loud voices and stomping boots, and when I turned around I saw 3 bulky guys in matching black shirts that said HOA Security, marching up my driveway like they were about to raid a nightclub. The lead guy barked, "Sir, you're in violation of HOA regulations, we're here to enforce compliance," and I had to bite my tongue not to laugh in his face, because they clearly thought those cheap t-shirts and sunglasses made them look intimidating, but really they looked like a failed boy band audition. I calmly told them to leave my property because they had zero legal standing, but one of them actually tried to shove past me, at which point I raised my voice and warned them I would call the sheriff, which made them hesitate just long enough for me to whip out my phone and start recording. Suddenly their tone changed from aggressive to annoyed, and the leader growled that Karen is going to be very upset you're not cooperating, which was the moment I realized she had sent them personally, probably her nephews or buddies who thought they could scare me. Now here's where the timing gets delicious, because what they didn't know was that my cousins, 3 Army veterans who ride Harleys and don't take crap from anyone, were on their way up the mountain to spend the weekend with me, and just as the fake security guys were posturing and trying to look tough, I heard the distant rumble of engines, the kind of deep growl that makes your spine tingle, and I swear you could see the color drain from the intruders' faces as the sound grew louder. Within minutes, my cousins rolled up, leather vests, combat boots, and that unmistakable Army confidence radiating off them. They cut their engines and just stared down the so-called security like predators eyeing prey. And let me tell you, it was glorious. My cousin Mike, the biggest of them, got off his bike slowly, cracking his knuckles, and said in his deep voice, "Is there a problem here?" And suddenly the guys who had been barking orders at me looked like they wanted to melt into the forest. One stammered something about just checking on community safety, but my other cousin laughed in his face and said, "This ain't your community, this is private property, and you're trespassing, so unless you want the sheriff and a military-style eviction, you better get lost right now." And with that, the fake tough guys practically tripped over each other running back down the driveway. My cousins chuckled and asked me what the heck that was all about, so I explained the whole saga with Karen and her obsession with controlling me, and they immediately offered to stick around for the weekend just in case she tried anything else. And boy, she did. That evening, while we were grilling outside, Karen herself showed up in her minivan, screeching about how I had no right to bring bikers into her quiet community, and how she was going to report us for disturbing the peace. But before I could even answer, my cousin Jake pulled out his phone, showed her the recording of her fake security threatening me, and said, "Actually, ma'am, we'll be the ones reporting you for harassment, trespassing, and impersonating an official authority," and her face went pale. She tried to bluster and say the HOA board would back her up, but I told her flat out that my lawyer had already confirmed she had zero authority here, and if she stepped foot on my property again I'd get a restraining order. That shut her up for a moment, but she still tried to save face by yelling something about us being white trash bikers, before speeding off down the road, which only made my cousins laugh harder. The best part. The next morning, one of the actual sheriff's deputies stopped by after I filed a complaint, and when I showed him the video evidence, he shook his head and said, "Yeah, we've had multiple reports about Karen making bogus calls. This isn't the first time she's tried to play HOA cop," and promised to file a report. From that day forward, Karen never sent fake security again, never put another letter under my door, and whenever she saw me driving past her neighborhood, she suddenly found somewhere else to look. The irony is that she created her own worst nightmare. By trying to intimidate me, she ended up facing real intimidation from people she never expected, and the legend of my cousins on Harleys spread so fast that even the actual HOA board wanted nothing to do with me because they knew I wasn't someone they could bully. These days, I sit on my cabin porch, sip coffee, and chuckle whenever I hear the distant hum of an engine because it reminds me of that glorious moment when Karen's so-called security ran for their lives, proving once and for all that bullies crumble the second they meet someone stronger. So remember this story the next time someone tries to push you around with fake authority. Stand your ground, know your rights, and if you're lucky enough to have cousins with Harleys, invite them over for a cookout because nothing sends HOA Karens running faster than the roar of freedom on two wheels. And hey, if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe for more insane tales of revenge, justice, and unexpected karma, because trust me, I've got plenty more where this came from, and you don't want to miss the next one.